If we do it manually, we'd copy and paste this data, right? Okay, we have to go in and we have to copy this data. That's the manual way of doing it. But when we have a data scraping tool, we just simply take the address, the URL of that page, so we can put it into the data scraping tool. Simple. Run. Flame icon. Fast. Just wait a few seconds and it will return the content of that web page. Because here we're using the scrape feature, so what we'll get is the returned content in markdown format. This markdown format looks like this, guys. It'll have hash symbols. So this markdown content is neat. It's also very user-friendly. We can just look at it and read it. Alright, now I'll try running it to see what kind of result running correctly. It's scraping. 15 pages it's scraping. And here, it's only going to scrape 15 pages, and it will only return all 15 of these pages at once. So this is one blog. This is the home page. Blog post. Grab links. Data. Those links. Here, crawling, one link. Then it will crawl to find other links and enter those links. And scrapes the website. I'll go back to the playground and give it a command. Extract all the product names. Product price. Product description from this website. Alright, now I'll try running it to see if it can automatically understand my request or not. Generate parameters, which means it will search across this entire website and it will extract the list of products. And in each array, it will pull out the name, price, and description of that product. Enable agency is a new feature here, so I'll try turning this on to see if the results are better or not. Now I'll rerun this with the agent to see if it can understand things on its own. Here, it's also automatically going to the website and scraping, and here it's able to pull out these URL addresses. It extracted 9 products and formatted them. These are the products extracted. Hello, hi everyone, I'm Minduk. Welcome everyone to my new video today. So, to build AI chatbots using your business's data, the first step is you need to have high-quality data or a knowledge base. I provide this database to the chatbot so that it can retrieve information to answer users' questions, right? Before we build the chatbot, is that we need to have data. And one very common source of data for businesses is the data available on the internet, specifically on your own website. Today, I'm going to introduce to you a data scraping tool, web scraping, which will be useful from a website. In a previous video of mine about the overall picture of AI web scraping in 2025, I also tried to provide a comprehensive summary of the tools for web scraping available. There are a lot of tools, from basic to advanced. FireCrawl is a very popular tool. You could say it's one of the tools that is the easiest to use and the most user-friendly, especially for those of you who aren't tech-savvy. That's why I decided to choose FireCrawl to introduce to you in this video. There are a lot of tools, but I think starting with FireCrawl will give you a pretty solid foundation for you to understand how these tools actually work, the main features of web scraping tools, and what you can do with these data scraping tools. Because FireCrawl has really tried to make the data scraping process for users super simple, yeah. So in this video is a part of my RAG Chatbot course. This course will help small businesses and startups build AI chatbots using the knowledge base of your own business to support and take care of your customers. So, what is FireCrawl? FireCrawl is a tool specialized in web scraping, basically data crawling. It means it will effectively turn the incoming information on websites into data ready to be fed into LLMs, which are large language models. It will provide your AI applications with a clean data source collected from various websites. They emphasize FireCrawl as open source, which means you can download, install, and self-host to use free. Of course, this open source version will also have some limitations. As for those limitations, I'll go into more detail about them later on. This is the homepage of FireCrawl. Here, they have an illustration showing that the content on websites will be returned in a format with the data that we need, in a format that's friendly to large language models. Actually, I think this illustration doesn't really very clearly, so I prepared a few slides, and I have this image, which I think might be easier to understand. So, for those bots that scrape data from the internet, those beautiful websites, behind them is code. Code. It looks all jumbled and chaotic like this. Guys, when you use a data scraping tool like FireCrawl, from data, code like this, which is messy, chaotic, it will be cleaned up and returned in a format called Markdown, which is easy to read. Not just for humans, but also very friendly for AI and for large language models as well. Web scraping is a big topic, and actually, it's not a simple one either. Here, I've also listed out some issues and the common challenges. When we need to scrape data, first is changes in website structure. Many scraping tools rely on specific HTML structures. For example, the name of a tag, the name of a class. So when the website changes its layout, the scraping tool might break and stop working. Second is dynamic content, which is a type of dynamic content. That means pages that are displayed through JavaScript, so you can understand that the data we want to collect isn't present in the initial HTML, but this content will be loaded via JavaScript. So when we perform an action, then that content will only be loaded for us to see. For example, on sites like YouTube or Facebook, not all the content is the same for everyone. And usually, when you log into a website, that content will be loaded specifically for you. And not all content is downloaded at once. But, for example, when you scroll down, more content will appear. Not everything is displayed right from the start for you to scrape. The third issue is also related to what I just mentioned above, which is pagination and scrolling, or infinite scroll. It means the data is spread pages and only loads more information as you scroll. Next, the fourth issue is a really tough one, which is anti-bot mechanisms. Many mechanisms, but the most common we encounter are things CAPTCHA, which means it displays characters that are really hard to read. Humans see characters, but for bots, they might not be able to. Characters are hard to read, so it can't pass test. Mechanisms like rate limiting, which means limiting rate, limiting the speed, and if it's more strict, then they block the IP. So basically, when you access a certain website, that website will know your IP address, and when you scrape data, meaning you access a lot of different websites from the same IP address within a very short period of time, right? That's also a signal that shows you're using the website for the wrong purpose. You're scraping data, or you're doing something that could be dangerous to that website. Then it will immediately trigger the website's protection mechanism and anti-bot measures. Many other mechanisms exist. Fifth is about logging in and account authentication. This is also pretty obvious. With quite a lot of websites, you have to log in before you can see the content, right? Content isn't available publicly without logging in. Many websites, they lock the content behind a login wall, and you have to log into your account. Sometimes your account has to be a paid account type to see content. Sixth issue, unstructured data or data with a lot of noise, because HTML can contain nested data, inconsistencies, or duplicates, so it can be quite difficult to extract clean data from it. The seventh issue is scalability and performance. This happens when our needs require us to scrape hundreds, even thousands of websites quickly. It can become slow or very costly. The eighth and final issue is legal and ethical concerns. Scraping content is a sensitive issue. In fact, it often violates the terms of service of most websites or data protection laws like the GDPR. Next, let's go back to the FireCrawl website. Here, I'll continue features of FireCrawl. FireCrawl doesn't solve issues data scraping, guys. Specifically, FireCrawl only scrapes data from certain types of websites, like informational websites or those that provide information or documentation type sites, docs, documentation, or sites like blogs, news. Then it can scrape data from those kinds of sites, but for sites where you have to log in or on social media, at the moment, FireCrawl still can't handle that problem yet. So FireCrawl has already managed to handle quite a lot of the basic and common problems of data scraping on the internet, but there are still some limitations. So, limitations. FireCrawl next, but first, we know that this is a data scraping tool. It's really powerful with a lot of features. And here on FireCrawl's website, they also highlight these features, which are scrape, crawl, and search. Crawl means scrape. We often say data scraping, collecting data from websites. This data can be in Markdown or in JSON format, screenshots. Next is the crawl part. Crawl means to creep or to crawl, kind of like a spider. You know, a web spider. It's like when a spider crawls, its web spreads out in many directions, right? Forming a spider web. So this crawl, which translates as to creep or to crawl, but collect data from pages. It will extract the structure, the network of pages on the website, and gather information from each of those pages. So what about search? Search means looking up on the web and retrieving all the content from the search results. This is actually a pretty new feature. Besides these two, there are actually two more features. If you log into the dashboard, you'll see them. I'll go to the playground section. There's also this map. First is the map, and second is extract, which means extracting data from websites. So, in total, FireCrawl has 5 main features, but they highlight 3. My slide clearly states it has 5. First is scrape, data scraping from a URL. It retrieves content and returns it in a format you can copy. Second is crawl, which is scraping to get interconnected web pages, retrieving content from those pages. That's friendly to large language models. The third is map. Map means map, you know. It's when you enter a website address. It will fetch all the URL links on that website. This feature is quite practical for websites where you don't know the sitemap of that website. A sitemap is a file that lists all the URL links on that website. In a bit, I'll show you what that sitemap actually looks like. Fourth feature, search, grabbing content from results. Fifth, extract. So it's still data scraping, but now it doesn't return all the data. Instead, it will return only the structured data according to our requirements, so whatever information we want to have on that page. That website will have a lot of information, but now we want it to return data, structured, maybe the product name, the product price, the remaining quantity. So, we'll request only the information we want. No need to return all. On that website, that's called extraction. Okay, now let's scroll down. Here, it also highlights the strengths and features of FireCrawl. There's crawling, which means collecting clean data. Media parsing, which is like converting, meaning it will take that data and clean it up once. The data from this website, from PDFs, from docs, it can convert those types of files to extract information. Then there's Smart Wait, which will intelligently wait for the content to load. For some websites, it might need a bit of time to load. This feature waits until the content loads, then scrapes. Then there are actions, which means it can simulate actions, like clicking, pressing, scrolling, writing, waiting, pressing as well, and perform a lot of different actions. For some websites, especially where we perform certain actions, before the information appears on that page, that's what this action part. Reliability first is FireCrawl. That means when we use it, we can trust that it will work, and it will return results as requested. Finally, there's dynamic content. This is also a tough part, scraping data from websites. Meaning this content is dynamic. This content will be rendered. It will be displayed by JavaScript. So FireCrawl will handle this JavaScript, these SPAs, and dynamic content, and we can just configure it at a minimal level to handle these issues with dynamic content. On the website, I noticed the explanation is brief and incomplete, so I made a separate slide to list things more specifically. About the features of FireCrawl. Why is it such a tool? A hot data scraping tool. Recently, so first, FireCrawl is really powerful when we need to scrape data from websites that have information or pages like docs or help centers. Currently, social media is not yet supported. It will return an LLM-ready format, so we can feed it directly to AI. These formats can be Markdown, structured data, screenshots, HTML, links, and metadata, and FireCrawl has handled parts. It will have proxies and mechanisms to prevent bots, anti-bot, and it can handle issues with dynamic content rendered with JavaScript. Output parsing. It can also handle things like PDFs, docs, and orchestration. So, this tool has already been packaged into a product, so users can use it easily, and it has handled hard parts. As for customization, quite diverse. For example, excluding tags in the HTML or scraping data behind. Authentication, meaning you have to log in before you can access that content. Then, max step. For scraping, we can also customize how deep it will scrape, like level 2, level 3, level 4. When we go to a website, it might have links to other pages, so it can just follow those links and scrape up to level 2, 3, 4. Media parsing. Converting, extracting info from PDFs, docs, images. Reliability. I've already mentioned this. Reliability is put as the top priority so that it can extract the data we need. Actions supported, clicking, scrolling, inputting, filling information, waiting. Before it extracts the data part, like I said, there are many websites where you have to perform some action for the data to show up. Only then can we extract that data. Use case. The most common use case is collecting data, right? To build a knowledge base. From there, we can develop our own AI solutions. For example, the most common one is creating an AI chatbot, and it will use its knowledge sources to answer questions. Then there's lead enrichment, which means enriching information about leads, potential customers. Next, MCP, a new framework. Here at FireCrawl, there's also an MCP, so we can do a lot of things. So this MCP topic is also new and also very interesting. I'll make a video. AI platform, deep research. So, in general, these are some use cases listed here. Okay, in this section, I'll give a quick demo of FireCrawl's features so you can how a data scraping tool works. We'll sign up for a free account on FireCrawl. You can use my link in the video description, and if you use that link, you'll get some extra free credits to use. Alright, now back here, let's log in, and we'll go to the playground section, which is like a sandbox. Many AI tools have. We can try different features. Here, you can see there are these 4 features, and there's also one called Extract. I'll demonstrate that one in a bit. The single URL feature. When we move the cursor over this text, a description will pop up. I think this is pretty cool because it explains what this feature does. It means we give it a URL, and it will only scrape data from that specific address. This data scraping part is sensitive. So I'll try it with one of my own websites. I actually have quite a few websites, but I'll try it with an English website here. I'll go to a blog post. This blog post looks like this. The topic is about RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. So this is quite a long blog post. It has a lot of content. You see, it has chapters and subchapters. Actually, this was generated using my N8N automation workflow, which is called the deeper research version. So it creates a really long post like this. Anyway, if we look at the code section, if we look at the code of the page I just viewed, we can see, right, if it's code, then it will be a lot, much more than the interface that we see. So actually, when using these kinds of tools, to scrape like this, it automatically cleans and extracts the data for us already. For example, now if we do it manually, we copy and paste this data, right? We go in, copy pieces of data. That's the manual way of doing it. But when we have a data scraping tool, we just simply take the URL of that page to put into the data scraping tool. It's as simple as this, and we just click run, and that's it. Now I'll run it right now. There, it shows this little flame icon, which is pretty fun to look at. It runs really fast. Just wait a few seconds and it will return the content of that web page. Because here we're using the feature scrape, so we'll get the returned content in markdown format. This markdown format looks like this. Guys, it has hashed this h2 tag. And this is an h3 tag. There you go. So this is the content in markdown format, and it's neat and clean. It's user-friendly. We can look at it and read it easily. And it also scrapes pretty well. It's very accurate. And the content of the page has also been scraped. The JSON format is just another format. JSON has the structure of key and value pairs. So it will return the website's content in JSON format. Besides that, it will also include some other tags. For example, metadata, and quite a lot of other information as well. So these are the pieces of information it returns in markdown format. With this format, we can copy, and we can compile it into a database to provide for our AI chatbot. This is an illustration of the data scraping part with a URL. Here, I'll open up the options section and quickly go through some other settings. For example, exclude tags, which means removing tags, classes, or IDs that we want to skip and don't want to scrape. That's it. We add them here. Include only. For example, if there are certain tags we only want to scrape, we only want these tags. put them here. Then, this wait for is to wait for the page to load, which is useful. In cases where the website loads slowly, timeout means when we send a request to scrape this web page, it will wait for how long? Maybe this web page won't load, or it takes too long to load. So we can also add this timeout in. Alright, on the right side here. This is what we should select, which is to extract only the main content. There won't be a header, navigation, the menu, and the footer. What does this mean? When I come here, this part is the header. The entire top section is the header. This part is the navigation with a menu and other elements. This is the main content of the website. This is the real main content of the website that we want to scrape, and down here is the footer. So, we only want to get the main content of the website so that when it comes out as Markdown, we can use it. But actually, the Markdown itself isn't perfect either. It will still have some parts that we actually don't really need. For example, here I see this part that I don't really need. I just need the part where the content of the article starts, and then scroll all the way to the end. So there will still be some parts that belong to the navigation section, where they're not really related to the main content of the website. So, actually, we can add another step where we clean it up one more time, maybe using AI, or do it manually, so that we only keep the data. That's most relevant, because later on, the chatbot will be providing it with the database. So this is actually some of the content inside that database. So, the cleaner we make the data, the more concise the AI's responses will be. Alright, next is about the stealth mode. Stealth mode it is recommended that websites have a mechanism, block scraping, or have anti-bot controls. It is very tight. Then use the stealth mode. It will count as 5 credits for one page. Well, the output format is, it will have this markdown, this link, JSON by default, HTML type then we can also get back clean, raw HTML. Viewport, then full page viewport. Viewport means only capturing the part that we can see. When we access a website, whatever part of the screen we see, that's the part we capture, or we can choose full page. The entire screenshot of that website. Now I'll run it again. With these new options, okay, now I will run again for myself, demo for you to see. My website, actually I also leave the mechanism. Block Cloudflare bots, I use FireCrawl. It also bypassed Cloudflare's block. Okay, now it has returned some more of these tabs. This markdown seems to be the same. Alright, about the links, that means it has extracted all the links in this blog post, so there are internal links, and also links to external websites as well. That's it. So this is the links section. Screenshot, it extracts the content of the screenshot. Yeah. Here we can see, it seems like there's a bit of an error with this part. This menu here, maybe this menu is a bit too big. So, this is the screenshot of the entire blog post just now. Alright, the JSON response is similar. It returns the information in a JSON format with key value pairs, so all the information will be returned here, and this time it seems it returns more complete. The things we requested to add, for example, the part about links, all the internal links, and even the external links are all included here, so there will be a lot of information for us to continue processing. Alright, next I'll demonstrate the crawl feature, which means we just need to give it a URL, and it will access that address, and all the subpages it can find. Then after that, it will return the content. A spider, like a spider crawling, it goes to this page, and that page has links to other pages. Then it will go into pages. That's called crawling. I'll try with this page too. But I don't want it to scrape everything. I just want it to fetch, for example, only 10 pages, and the max depth is the depth, how deep it will crawl. So maybe I'll set it to only go 2 levels deep, meaning when it gets to the second page, it will find links and continue crawling. But when it reaches pages at the 3rd level, then it won't scrape anymore. It will just stop at the 2nd level. Alright, these exclude path options, meaning you can remove or add this path here as well. Ignore sitemap and allow backwards links. Page options. So, there are quite a few options here. Okay, I think I'll set this one to clean. There's clean and raw. No, just one of the two. This time I'll try with HTML clean. Alright, and now I'll hit run to see how this crawl will work differently compared to scraping a single URL. Because this one is making requests in parallel, so it'll return results faster. Now, we'll see that. And what it returns is also a markdown file. From that page, right? Yeah, so it's still the content of that page. Here, there's this HTML tag, meaning this is the entire content of the page. I want to scrape, but in HTML format. So, we can see that all, the content, all those tags. Here, in case we want to. Look closely so we can add certain content, or leave out certain content. Then we can go into this HTML tag too. Use the browser, check its code. Whatever we want, whatever we don't. Then we can specify it very clearly so this tool understands. Alright, next, it's also this link. Then, screenshot here. This time it successfully took the screenshot. It captured the entire screenshot, including the image. JSON response is similar. It just returns the result in the format JSON. But I'm still a bit confused because I thought it would extract the address of this page and all its subpages, right? But here, it seems like it only extracts one page. Now I'll try again with the home page. For example, now I will take this home page and I'll set the limit, for example, to 15. Alright, now I'll try running it to see what kind of result it returns. Okay, this time it worked correctly, guys. So we can see here that it's scraping 15 pages, just as I requested. These are the pages scraped. We can give request scrape 100 pages. But here, it will only scrape 15 pages and return all 15 pages at once. So this is a blog, this is the home page, and here is another blog post. So it will automatically grab those links and scrape the data from those links. This is crawling right here. Guys, starting from one link, it will crawl around to find other links and go into those links to scrape the website, and it returns results like this. So with this crawl feature, I'll use it when we want to get the sitemap, or when we don't have a sitemap and we just want to let it scrape and collect the data by itself. Next, I'll try out the map feature. This map means it will extract all the addresses or URLs on the website in just a few seconds. Yeah. This is actually quite similar to crawl in that it also needs to return a list of all the URLs on the website. With crawl, it doesn't just get the list of URLs, but it also goes into each page and scrapes the data from those pages as well. Now I'll continue testing the map feature. Yeah, I'll take the URL of this page and then I'll hit run. This one has options. If we want posts on the blog, we can add that. Alright, 136 found. URLs on my website. So, this is the list of URLs that it found. Alright, it got this blog, it got this product, and other web pages. Besides, there are dynamic links, like dynamic URLs. These are URLs it fetched. Actually, if we do this in multiple steps, we can get the URLs, and then we use these addresses to scrape, and so on. But with this map function, we'll use it when we only need the URL. Just the URL. That's it. But if we want to automatically scrape the data, we use this crawl function. Actually, to do this part, we also need to understand a concept about sitemaps. Yeah, for example, on this website of mine, I have a sitemap. My website built WordPress, so when I install SEO plugins, they automatically generate sitemap. What is a sitemap? A sitemap is like a map of the site. It lists out all the addresses, the URLs, all the web pages on that website. For example, there are 4 types of content. Post type, which are blog posts. Page type, which are the pages. Then there are products and product categories. Now I can quickly go in to show you what's inside this sitemap, okay? For example, the post sitemap. This is all the blog posts on my website. The URLs of all these posts. And 4 page, these are the pages on my website. About, FAQ, contact, home, then terms of service, etc. There are 11 pages in total. Next, products. There are 13 products on my website. These are the products. Categories. These are the categories for the blog posts. There are also 10 types of posts, 10 categories for the blog posts. So that's the sitemap. When we have the sitemap, we can take the list of these URLs and provide them to our scraping tool. So it can automatically go to these pages and scrape them. But in case we don't have the sitemap, then we can use tools like FireCrawl with its map feature. It will extract the URLs of a website or crawl, meaning it not only has to get the address, the URL, but at the same time it also scrapes the data from those addresses, so it's 2 in 1. Alright, next is search. What is search? It means it will search on the web, and it will take the content from the returned results. So, here's an example. It's top restaurant in San Francisco, which means the top restaurants in the San Francisco area there, so there are also a lot of options here. Here, let's try something different. For example, I'll try top Asian restaurant in Helsinki. Let's run it. Let's see if there are any Vietnamese restaurants that show up here. Okay, it's fetched it now. Here are the search results. There will be a few pages like this. It will pull out 5 results, and at the same time, it will go to those pages to fetch the data for us. So here are the 5 results. From TripAdvisor, then Wanderlust, Word of Mouth. See, these are the 5 websites that it found using this keyword. I guess it's using results from Google search, for example. So it grabs the top 5, then goes into each site to fetch the data from those pages in the format that we want. It could be JSON, or it could be Markdown, or links, screenshots, HTML, whatever we ask it to fetch. So these are the 5 search results. And at the same time, it also pulls the data right away. With this feature, it also gives us quite a few more use cases to carry out use cases that require using search results. Alright, finally, I'll talk about a feature of FireCrawl that's really interesting, called extract. Extract means extraction. It will extract structured data from a single page, or from multiple pages, a single page, or several pages, or even the entire website. Alright, I'll try it out in this playground. I'll extract information from my website. For example, this is my web shop. It sells digital products. So now I want it to pull out a list of all the products on my website, including the product name and price, to see if it can actually get them. I could even ask if it can extract the product description. For example, now I'll go to a product page. You'll see that there is quite a lot of information, and this section about the product description, it's there too, and it's pretty detailed. So let's see if it can automatically understand. Go into each product page and extract the data or not. Now, I'll go back to the playground and give it a command. Extract all the product names, product price, product description from this website. Now I'll try running it to see if it can automatically understand my request or not. Generate parameters. That means it will search across the entire website, and it will extract the list of products. And in each array, it will get the name, price, and description of that product. So now I'll try running this to see if it understands the request, and if it returns the result I want. I'll run it. It's running. Here, it found the products and descriptions. It found 25 products. And it returns them in this format with the name, with the price and the product description. Some of these here, I can see that they seem correct. These are the products, but why are there 25 products? Weird. I remember I only had a dozen or so products. From the sitemap, there were only a dozen or so products. It looks like some products are duplicated, guys. So here, they're duplicated. This is the file that it fetched and then reformatted to make it look nice and easy to read. But 25 products isn't correct. As you can see here, I only have 13 products. And these are the URLs of those products. But here, it's pulled out double the amount. So there are quite a few products that are duplicated, meaning it's still not working perfectly. Now I'll try again by enabling agent mode, which is a new feature. So I'll try turning this on to see if the results are any better. Now I'll run this again with a agent to see if it can understand things on its own. It automatically goes to the website and scrapes. It managed to get these URL addresses. This time, it pulled out 9 products, and it also formatted them for me. Here are the products it managed to extract. It seems like it's correct, but still not complete. Here it only managed to extract 9 products, while I actually have a total of 13 products. And another thing is, between the previous run and this run, the product description part, it seems like it automatically shortens it, because if you take the entire product description, it would be really long. Yeah, so it seems like it automatically summarized the product description part. It only pulls out the information, like the name, price, and a brief description of the product. So anyway, this is just a demonstration to show you guys that there are tools like this out there. It can understand the structure of the website. It finds the URLs, crawls, and scrapes them automatically, and collects the data by itself. Then it cleans the data and returns the results in a structured format, structured for us. So from this, we can convert it into a format like a spreadsheet. So now, instead of to go in and copy and paste all these products, then go to each page, look for information about prices, about product names, and for many different fields, then we copy and paste manually, which takes a lot of time. So now we can use data scraping tools like FireCrawl, and it will return data that has already been cleaned for us in the structure that we want. Of course, this demo still isn't working perfectly. As a demo, it's very promising and can help with many tasks. Even if it can't get 100% of the data, it can still get 70 to 80%. And even 90% would already save us a lot of work. Okay, so in this video, I've introduced you to FireCrawl, a tool that's both powerful and specialized for data scraping, and also user-friendly, with a lot of features. I've also introduced the main features of FireCrawl, such as scrape, crawl, map, search, and extract. As I mentioned, FireCrawl has a lot of powerful features, and it makes it so that someone who knows nothing about data scraping gets started learn, explore, practice scraping data at a basic level simple. It makes learning difficult concepts or new tools much easier, especially for those of you who aren't tech savvy. Now, I'll quickly talk about the pricing. So, FireCrawl actually has there's a free plan, but this free plan isn't very generous. You only get 500 credits. You can think of it like each website you want to scrape costs 1 credit. So, 500 credits isn't a lot, and it's a one-time thing, meaning it's not like every month. You get another 500 credits, and that's all. We only have these 500 credits. The purpose is so we can experiment with this tool, scrape 500 websites, and then it supports 2 browsers at the same time, but the rate limit is also low. You can scrape about 10 pages per minute or 1 crawl per minute. The scrape and crawl are different, so this free package isn't very generous. And actually, the price of FireCrawl isn't cheap either. On the other hand, FireCrawl has a version that's open source, which means you can install it to use for free, and you don't necessarily have to use the cloud version and have to pay for it. However, the open source version does have some limitations. Here, I have an image from FireCrawl itself to explain the difference between the open source version and the cloud version. So we can see here that the open source version, it will have the scrape feature, crawl feature, LLM extract feature, map feature, LLM ready formats, and the SDK package here is included in the open source part. But the open source version doesn't have the advanced features that are actually really necessary when we need to scrape a lot of data at a large scale. Mechanisms for bypassing anti-bot measures. This is bypass bot protection, meaning bypassing CAPTCHAs, or to avoid getting banned. Having your IP blocked, being IP blocked, you need a proxy rotation mechanism, which means rotating proxies. Then things like a dashboard to display information, features related to actions, are also not included, and browserless or browser-full scraping are also not available. That means for websites that require the use of browserless, then the open source version can't handle it. And enterprise features for businesses. The features for businesses are also only available in the cloud version. So, as we can see, even though FireCrawl has an open source version, this open source version is quite limited. It also lacks some very important features, like proxies, and a mechanism to bypass anti-bot measures. So these are all features that are really necessary if we're scraping data on a large scale. But if our needs are small, if we're just scraping simple websites that are common and don't block scraping mechanisms to prevent data scraping, then we can use the open source version. Anyway, my point is that this version is very limited. That's why, in the video about an overview introduction to web scraping with AI, in 2025, I listed a lot of tools. For the purpose of web data scraping already, FireCrawl is just one tool among many tools out there. In this video, I chose FireCrawl to introduce to everyone. Because, as I said, it's a tool that's easy to use. It has a lot of features. Every feature is easy to use. I'll pick this one to demo for you guys first, so you can understand what a data scraping tool is like, and how features like scrape and crawl actually work. That is, first we need to understand the concept, the way it operates, and then if we want to save money, we can look into other tools as well. For example, in the previous video, I also introduced a tool, a very powerful data scraping tool called Crawl for AI. So maybe in another video, I'll go deeper into Crawl for AI. So, collecting data is the very first step, right? Before we build AI systems, those smart chatbots, intelligent, powerful AI that can use the knowledge bases we provided to answer questions in the best relevant way for users. A database, right? This FireCrawl is a tool to help us with a very basic step. Basically collecting data from websites. It has some very specific use cases, and its limitation is that there are some websites where FireCrawl isn't optimized for scraping data, and especially on social media sites like Facebook or LinkedIn, Instagram, and so on. This FireCrawl can't handle them. I don't know if in the future it will be able to do it, but for now, it can't handle it. And actually, the problem of scraping data from social media platforms is a really tough problem. Guys, just think about it. Social media sites require us to log in, right? That means you have to log in to be able to see the content, and that content is also personalized for each individual. So it's not like there's just one piece of content that's the same and everyone will see the same information, but this content is personalized for you, and it will only load when you log in, when you perform certain actions, when you scroll, when you swipe, then the content will be rendered. That's when it renders content. Social media platforms' mechanisms for security and anti-bot measures extremely strict. When you use multiple IPs to log into an account, your account will be immediately blocked or even banned, permanently locked. So, social media is a case where data scraping can be said to be almost the most difficult level. An even harder problem might be probably those websites that also require you to log in, that also have dynamic content, JavaScript rendering, and then they make things even stricter, even tighter. Those kinds of websites aren't as common as social networks, like Facebook, LinkedIn. Maybe those are the toughest problems of all. Problems that are kind of unique and require a lot of customization. With such difficult problems, FireCrawl still can't handle them yet, guys. However, I think that for a lot of use cases where you need to collect data from the internet, from websites, for businesses, FireCrawl can actually do a really good job. So this is a part of the content in my upcoming course about building RAG chatbots for businesses. If you're a business owner or you also have a startup and you want to build a smart chatbot using your own knowledge base, your own database, to answer questions, then you should check out this course of mine. I'll leave the link to the course in the video description down below. This video is also quite long, so I'll wrap it up here. If you're still here watching at this point, thank you so much. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.